Don, how many breaks do we have left?
Zito just laughing at his music selection at this point.
Batman movie. I'm sorry.
It's good. This one's good. It's not as bad as that hack gangster rap he had on earlier.
Is he back in the cinematic?
Yes.
I'm in the
okay.
football pump up section, and this is not pumping me up. Oh, actually,
yeah,
it is.
Tonight, the undefeated SMU Mustangs voyage 3 hours to Houston, Texas. A rivalry built on a white-collar Dallas team taking on a blue-collar Houston Cougar team. A banged-up Houston Cougar has a lot of energy going into the game, knowing they got nothing to lose. SMU on the other side, everything to lose. Undefeated team, reborn organization, reborn franchise. Who will come out on top in this Texas rivalry of Power 5 teams?
Yes!
Pretty good. Not a bad little cut.
That was motivating.
Not a bad little cut there. That's real, though. Everything I just said is actually accurate, which is very interesting. Sean O'Hara, thank him so much for joining us. We have Ryan Clark of ESPN fame, Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowl champion, joining us here momentarily. He has been on one. I'm excited to hear his thoughts on Tom Brady potentially leaving, which everybody's talking about. Patty Mahomes' kneecap, saying, I'm going to go back into the right place, and I'm going to play here in a couple weeks. Can't wait to chat with him about Josh Gordon. Can't wait to talk about everything with Ryan Clark. Love the way his brain operates. The boys at the office, we have 6 televisions. Normally they're on every different channel, just hearing what people are saying, seeing who's jocking our takes and taking them for themselves, see what everybody else is saying. Oh, this stuff. We do this. And anytime Ryan Clark comes on the television, the entire office normally stops just to hear what he's saying. I'm a big fan of this guy, and I can't wait to chat with him here momentarily. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now, Super Bowl champ from LSU, Pittsburgh Steeler, Giant, Redskin, you name it, ESPN Electric Factory, Ryan Clark. Here we go.
Hey, man. Bro, first off, bro, I'm extremely excited to do this. I just want to say, bro, you are killing it. I'll be honest, when a specialist who was actually phenomenal decides to end his career early when you guys could play 27 years, and decides to get into this business, man, and do what you're doing, you're kind of skeptical. But from a entertainment standpoint, from an understanding of the game, from the way that you communicated with us, listen, bro, I watched UCLA Stanford because you were on there. So I just want to say, man, you're doing a real good job, bro.
Ryan,
we're excited to be here, man.
Hey, that means a lot because I'm a big fan of yours as well. So I could literally talk about, I literally just said it. Whenever you come on the screen at our office, everybody stops and we turn it up. A lot of Pittsburgh people, so we're big fans of you from there. But also when you speak, it's magical. Not a lot of humans get on TV and do good stuff. You do that. With that being said.
Appreciate it, man.
Hey, no problem. You're awesome. Especially as an undrafted free agent guy, you had to earn everything. So I respect the hell out of that. That's real. Speaking of earning everything right now, Tom Brady, for some reason, there's this thought now. Adam Schefter brought this out into the world that this is his last year as a Patriot. He's either going to retire or go to another team. Schefter said it's the least likely option of the three is that he stays with the New England Patriots. How do you feel about this in the fact that the entire TB12 treatment is that you can play forever? I don't think he's retiring. I think there's a chance he goes somewhere else.
Well, I think here's the thing, right? When Shefty reports something, we take it as fact.
Yep.
Right. So Shefty he's transactional. And so the hard part here is this is a little bit of Shefty reading the tea leaves. He's saying, okay, he's selling his house. His trainer's selling his house. Now, you know, and I know this is really just like rich people stuff, right? Rich people do stuff like this. You like, okay, look, my house is really big. It's in New England. People ain't really, buying stuff like this. Let me put it on the market now. And if I am back here next year, guess what? My wife's a gazillionaire. I got buku money. We could find somewhere else to live for a year or two, and everybody can be happy. It'll have 16 rooms. We all good either way. That's the first thing. Now, secondly, he's faced with his football mortality. We all have heard the rumors that he wanted Jimmy G out because he didn't want to be replaced, and Bill Belichick didn't like that, but Mr. Kraft did it. We're watching his play not be the same. He's not the same Tom Brady. Remember, it used to be that Tom Brady could take me at receiver, you at receiver, one of your homeboys who over there running the podcast, and y'all could win the Super Bowl. It ain't that no more. And so I think he's starting to feel some of these things. And I was listening to him talk to Randy Moss, and he said, I talked to my 12-year-old. He said, it's whatever you want to do, Dad. Then I talked to my wife, and she was like, well, you know my answer. I think there is starting to be some pressure, and it's not like going home and your wife, she met you and you were already a millionaire and you made her life better. It's like, nah, she actually made your life better. And so I think all of those things combined make it so that he understands that this is a year-to-year basis. His contract is done on a year-to-year basis. And I believe that he's preparing for anything, but I'll never just say, okay, this means that Tom Brady's out of New England or Tom Brady's out of football.
Tom vs. Time was an interesting peek into that dude's life, man, on Facebook. I mean,
it really was.
Facebook does a lot of things wrong. That Tom vs. Time thing, it was an interesting look into an alien that plays quarterback for the New England Patriots. I mean, that's a real thing. Let's move forward. Drew Brees is thinking about coming back early. You went to LSU. I'm not sure your ties to Louisiana or your knowledge with the Saints or anything like that. You have a big football brain, so I'm assuming you know. If you're Drew Brees, aside from the fact that you have records that you want to get, why would you come back a week before bye week and not get this 2 extra weeks of rest on your thumb while Teddy Bridgewater's balling out for the Saints?
Well, so it's funny. I live in Baton Rouge, so I'm an hour away from New Orleans. I have a family full of New Orleans Saints fans. Drew Brees isn't just the quarterback of the Saints here. Drew Brees is God. They talk about Drew. They say some things about Drew Brees here, and I'm like, y'all got to be out your mind. I dang near don't want y'all in my family no more if you feel this way about a real life human man who's never been the MVP. Let's just get that out there. Never once in his life did we say, his peers, the writers say that he was better than every other player in the game. Never, not one time. Let's get that straight. But the way he's treated here and revered, it is very similar to what Tom Brady's looked like and looked at as in New England. And so now you have Teddy Bridgewater 5-0 on a team that until this year had never won a game during Drew Brees' tenure where he wasn't there. Sean Payton had never coached a game without Drew Brees where he won. Now you win 5 of them, and you beat some teams that you weren't supposed to beat. When Teddy Bridgewater steps in against the Rams, you say to yourself, if this team can go 500 and get Drew Brees back after the bye, now Drew Brees can work some miracle magic and they can get to the playoffs. They don't need miracle magic. They just need Drew Brees to be Teddy Bridgewater. And so I think that part of that ego, part of that what's involved is making him want to come back a little bit early because they can beat the Cardinals with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. Now you get that week, you get a bye week, and you get to come back in against a divisional opponent completely healthy and ready to roll through the stretch run. So to me, the only thing that could rush you back is ego and not understanding or the big picture not really being your goal, because the big picture should be to win the Super Bowl. And to win the Super Bowl, you want to be as healthy as possible. So this is a strange move to me, unless it is a move that is selfishly led by your ambitions and your ego instead of saying, okay, what's best for this team.
So interesting. That's kind of been a theme of today's show is like you have to remember that these are humans with real
Yes.
emotions, real feelings, real egos, no matter what level they're at. There's egos on everybody. There's pride on everybody. That would be – I mean, it was very interesting when I saw he was going to come back. I'm like, just take 2 weeks, dude. Just go ahead and make more videos of you throwing in the practice facility just for 2 more weeks and then come back incredibly healthy. Teddy Bridgewater's stock is going through the roof. I want to ask you about this because this is something I think only people in the locker room would understand. John Elway, whenever he traded Emmanuel Sanders, said that the locker room would understand why he was traded. There's a standard here. Something happened after the Titans game. That is going to leak at some point. Somebody's going to leak what happened after the Titans game at some point. He said something happened. They said, would you like to expand? He said, no, I'm not going to talk about it. It's like, well, that's going to come out at some point. And it wasn't obviously a big enough deal for John Lynch to say, no, I'm not going to take him. What do you think could potentially happen there? And is Emmanuel Sanders going to help out the Niners offense immensely, or is this just a good move for everybody?
Yeah, you know what? I really don't know. Obviously, the Broncos aren't very good.
Yeah.
You know, so I know that's part of it. Emmanuel Sanders wants to win football games. And obviously, when you bring in a guy like Joe Flacco, you're not really focused on the forward pass in the way that you should be. And so I think that was probably part of it as well. And maybe Emmanuel lashed out. Listen, if you're on a team and the best player in football goes down, and you know that they're not good defensively, you know that they don't necessarily possess a great running game, and you're beaten by Matt Moore, if you're a competitor, you're going to be pissed off. And so I can't necessarily speak for Emmanuel. I haven't spoken to him. Obviously, I know him well. I haven't spoken to him, so I don't know what happened. I do think as well when a GM, when a Hall of Famer, someone who is as great in this game as John Elway says something like, the team will know why, and kind of hints towards something happening, I don't like that.
Me
like
neither.
if you're gonna talk about what went on, talk about what went on. If you're not, say you made a business move. You know why? Because I'm one of the greatest to ever play this game. I got a gold jacket I ain't paid for. Stop asking me questions. Because you can do that. You can stay away from those things. And so you look at what he can add to the San Francisco 49ers. I think he's a much needed piece. You have Goodwin, who's outside as a speed guy. Pettis has been more inside, run after the catch. Obviously, George Kittle at tight end is the biggest receiving target on that team. Now you add a guy who's been a number one. He may be on the end stage of his career, but we've seen he could still be explosive. Had a double-digit receiving game this year already. And so a guy like that, you add him with Kyle Shanahan, he's going to find ways to scheme him open and give Jimmy G opportunities to get the ball to him. You also look at the San Francisco 49ers team. They're not winning because they're explosive in the pass game. Jimmy G's biggest hits were probably with people he's taken on dates, not necessarily people that he's thrown the ball to on the football field. And so for him, he needs something extra. If this team is going to take a step and actually contend once it gets to the playoffs, this passing game has to be better. Eventually, somebody's going to be able to block them. Not very well, probably, but somebody's going to be able to block them and score points. If you play the Packers, if you play the New Orleans Saints, if you get into those games against some of these better teams, the Minnesota Vikings, you're going to have to be able to throw the ball. And I think John Lynch, I think Kyle Shanahan understand this. And aside from slapping Vic Fangio, I guess they feel like no matter what Emmanuel Sanders did in the locker room, it's worth taking him on and having a quality receiver.
It was so interesting. It seemed petty to me from Elway whenever he said that. I mean,
It's 100% petty.
It was just a situation that you wouldn't think John Elway would do, and then you see it, you're like, oh, come on, John. You're John Elway. Like, that doesn't need to happen.
But Pat, wouldn't you also want to take the spotlight off of your quarterback decisions? Right? Like you don't want people actually diving in to what you have done at the position on the team you run, right? That you play, because aside from Peyton Manning falling into his lap, and those guys having a great defense that take them to a Super Bowl, this position for this team has been a mess, right? He's gone from quarterback to quarterback, free agent to drafted to moving up, and you get Paxton Lynch, and then you bring over Case Keenum, and you try to sign Brock Osweiler. He leaves, you bring him back. Like, all of these things have been debacles. This has been a total failure at this position for John Elway. And so if I was him, I'd be saying stuff about other things too. Oh yeah, we are terrible at quarterback. I made bad decisions, but boy, that Emmanuel Sanders cannot behave like that. Oh, well, what did he do, John? I don't want to talk about those things. The team understands. Yeah, because you don't want us to talk about Joe Flacco.
Imagine he comes out next time. Plane broke down just outside the like just everything that could potentially distract from the thought that that quarterback position has not been great under a quarterback's guidance, which is very interesting. I loved what you said about the Colts. Feels like you're getting on board with the Colts, and I've been saying this for a long time. They have the pieces. They have an offensive line. They have a defense. Jacoby Brissett is a baller. Nobody's really giving him credit. They have the pieces to make a deep run. Seeing you say that on television, literally, anytime you come on television or office, everybody stops to listen to it. Listening to you do that, I was pretty pumped up about it because it made me feel like a smarter person. But it's real. I think it's a real thing.
It is.
They have the pieces to make a run right now.
Yeah, you were a little earlier on it than I was.
I'm in the city.
I kind of had to wait to see some different things. I think you get nervous when you have a huge win against Kansas City, but the Oakland Raiders beat you at home.
Yeah.
So those type of things don't necessarily continue to build confidence. Actually, it's like it's up and down. But when you watch the pieces that have been assembled, when you see a team that is so good up front, a team that can not only protect but create running lanes for Marlon Mack and for that running game, and now you can control the ball, which is huge. I also think it helps is when you come into this season and you're looking at the New England Patriots, the first thing you think is what type of quarterback does a team have to have in order to beat them? And you look at the Deshaun Watsons, you look at the Patrick Mahomes, and then you look at the schedule and you say, okay, there has been one quarterback and one team that's beaten both of those guys. And that team is the Indianapolis Colts. And so looking at that, understanding the way that they can play offense, they can protect Jacoby Brissett, also the skill set and talent that Jacoby Brissett possesses. Nobody's talking, we're talking about Russell Wilson and his touchdown interception ratio. We're talking about Patrick Mahomes. Look, this guy's 14-3, and his touchdown interception ratio, like that's,
Damn
we're talking about this guy in a different way if we're not looking at the outside things and thinking of him as Andrew Luck's backup. This is a real team. This is a team that has the guidance of a great head coach, and they're built in a way that if you go down the stretch and you have to go on the road and win a game in Foxborough, you can do that. You have a head coach who believes in what he's put in place and can do that. And so for me, this team is a true contender, and we'll see a little bit more about the New England Patriots and what they really are over the next 6 weeks.
I think the reason why I was on it so early is because being on the team for so long, it was very obvious to know what we were missing. Like, okay, this is what we're missing to be a team, right? This is what we're missing for when every time we go into Foxborough, we just get slaughtered. Now, granted, the Colts are a young team, so they're going to have dumb situations like the Raiders. They're probably going to lose another one this season where everybody's like, what the hell are you doing? Jacoby's only like a second-year quarterback anyways. He's young. Nobody talks about him that way. But whenever you said it, made me feel real good, Ryan Clark. We got to get to a break. I am so thankful that you joined us, man. You're incredible on the mic. I hope you come back soon. I appreciate you so much. Check him out on ESPN. Do you have any podcasts or anything, or are you just go on television?
You know what, man? I'm going to have my first one. It's going to be in 2 weeks, man. I'm going to start with my own. And it would be pretty fun. I'd like to have you on one time, man, if you get some time.
Would love to. I can't wait to see it. You're going to do incredible, just like you did in football and in television. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Clark. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, brother. Have a great day.
All right, let's get to a break. We got to sneak one in here and then wrap up the show. That was awesome to hear him talk, man.
Yeah,
LSU legend, Steeler legend. He has a big brand on his right shoulder I was going to ask him about, just how bad that had to hurt. We'll ask him about that next time. We'll be back on the other side. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show.
Oh my God.
You always find me here.
So now you're here again, knocking at my door. A little too late for, I'm sorry for. The lights went out 'cause you kept cutting the cord, and I started to fade into your gray. See, I finally opened up my eyes, and I saw me coming back to life. That I'd be better without you inside. It's time
Greg.
to be someone.
Greg from the Houston Astros, public enemy number 1 for today. Alberto River on congrats. Thursday, October 24th, we got 2 minutes left. 18-year NFL quarterback, a man I get to share the booth with every Thursday night, has just joined us on our casting couch next to Todd McComas. Mr. Hasselbeck.
2-minute drill.
Tonight, SMU, the undefeated Mustangs, have traveled to Houston to take on the Cougars. What are you looking forward to, and are we in for a good one tonight?
We're in for a great game tonight. Tempo, tempo, tempo. SMU ran 109 plays.
How is that even possible?
Tempo, tempo. This is like Air Raid meets Gus Malzahn running game. This should be an awesome offensive, explosive
Fireworks tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
For
incredible.
sure. And then the quarterback, Shane Buechele, transferred from Texas. He's lighting it up. He's got 2 wide receivers that are definitely playing on Sundays. Should be a really exciting matchup.
Okay, and this is a rivalry game tonight, too, which we've been told by both sides, by the way.
It's got a little blue-collar, white-collar Dallas versus Houston thing. That's a big thing. And the thing for SMU, they can't really look past this Houston team because if they win, if they go 8-0, there's a really good chance I would expect they'd be in the running to have the college game day set up in that next week matchup, which would be, I think, Memphis versus SMU. But they can't look past it. They got a tough one on their hands tonight.
Memphis, great city.
Oh, yeah. Great city. Absolutely lovely.
All right, your guy tonight, Kirk
Yeah.
Cousins, is taking on Case Keenum without Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
The other football game, it's probably going to be a dud. If it does become a dud and you're watching it, come on over to our
I would
game.
imagine there's a lot of Houston Cougar fans that are Case Keenum fans. He's the NCAA's all-time leading passer, and they love him here in Houston.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's going to win that game? You think Vikings or
I
minus
think it's
six?
I think it's a runaway for the Minnesota Vikings.
Really? You think
Yeah.
they just – you have no idea what the Redskins team's going to show up, and you think they're just going to dominate?
I just think the Minnesota Vikings are a much more talented team. That's really the big deal.
Are you saying we should hammer the Vikings minus 16
I mean, I'm
tonight?
not an expert at that kind of stuff. I'm an expert at football, and I would say in terms of football, the Minnesota Vikings are a much better team.
Matt Hasselbeck said it. Grab the hammer, even without Adam Thielen. Hammer the Vikings minus 16 tonight. And if that game becomes a dud or you get bored, there's magic on
Hey,
ESPN.
that's what commercials are for. Flip on over to ESPN Thursday Night Football, college football.
Just give us a rating. It's all we care about. From Houston, Texas, myself, Todd, Matt, Joey, Zito, Foxy, Ty, and everybody else in this World Series city, we can't thank you enough for listening and watching. We don't know why you do, but this has been the Pat McAfee Show.
Great stuff.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Don.
Don's got